Hello, my dear students. Today we are studying a very powerful and historical important poem from your textbook called Partition by W.H. Auden. This poem describes how the partition of India and Pakistan was planned, not by people who understood this land, but by a British barrister who had never even seen India before. The poem shows how careless planning, hurry, and lack of understanding led to one of the greatest tragedies in the history of India. This poem has first stanza with 12 lines and second stanza with 13 lines. Now let's begin with first stanza. Let me give you explanation from line 1 to 3. Students, in the first 3 lines, the poet tells us about the man who was sent to divide the land. He arrives completely new. He has never seen India, never met the people, and knows nothing about their culture. Yet he is expected to make a huge decision. The two communities he must separate are already tense and emotionally against each other, which makes his job even harder. Now let's move on to line 4 to 7. Let me give explanation for this. In this section, the poet explains how different two groups are, right from their food habits to their religious beliefs. These differences have grown so strong that the British in London believes there is no time left for peace or discussion. They simply tell him that separation is only solution. This shows how rushed and careless the decision-making process was. Now let me explain from line 8 to 10. Here, the Viceroy enters the picture. Instead of guiding him, the Viceroy actually avoids him. He doesn't want to be seen too much with the man responsible for drawing the boundary, probably because he does not want the blame later. So they arrange separate accommodation for him. This reveals how the British officials tried to keep distance and avoid responsibility. Now let's move on from line 11 to 12. Let me give explanation for this. In this final lines, the man is given 4 judges, 2 Hindus and 2 Muslims, to advise him. It took balanced but poem reveals the truth. The final decision still rests with him alone. Imagine giving such power to someone who barely knows the land. This highlights the unfairness and the lack of proper understanding behind the partition. Students, now let's move on to the second stanza. Let me give you explanation from line 1 to 3. Imagine a man completely alone in a big mansion, guarded day and night. His job is huge. He has to decide the future of millions of people. It shows the pressure and loneliness that comes with big responsibilities. Now let's move on to the next section from line 4 to 6. Let me give explanation for this. He has to make decisions using old maps and probably wrong population data. There is no time to check or verify anything. This highlights how difficult and stressful his task is. Now let's move on for the next session, that is from line 7 to 9. Let me give explanation for this. Even though the weather is very hot and he is sick, he completes the huge task of dividing territories in just 7 weeks. It shows his endurance and determination. Now let's move on to the next segment. Let me give you explanation from line 10 to 13. After finishing, he leaves the continent and returns home. He quickly forgets about the responsibility and does not want to return, fearing danger from the people unhappy with his decisions. This shows how leaders sometimes detached from the outcomes of their work. Now let me give you conclusion. This poem shows how a man had a very difficult job deciding the future of millions of people. He worked hard under pressure with little time and poor information. And even though he finished the task, it was not easy or simple. Now let's see what is the moral. The moral is that big decisions affecting many people need wisdom, courage, and fairness. Leaders must understand the responsibility and consequences of their actions. Students, if you like this explanation, please like, share, subscribe, and tell me which chapter you want me to do next. Until then, bye.